Great. So, second episode of Open MSP podcast. We have the pleasure of hosting Ed Mozley joining us from London. Ed, how are you?
Michael, I'm very well, thank you. It's great to see you again.
Great to see you. And we're in the middle of the World Cup, so probably things are heated up on the UK. But anyway, would be happy to hear from you. How did you start your career in IT, and how did you decide to start working on FreeITSM, which is we'll talk more in a second, but yeah, maybe to hear how you get started with that.
As with many wonderful things in life, it happened pretty much by accident. So it was 1999, and I was working for Oxford City Council, doing a little bit of admin to help old age pensioners not be taken advantage of by rogue cowboy builders. And whilst working there, I had a phone call from my recruitment agent, and she said, Ed, there's this law firm just around the corner next to the Museum of Modern Art. They're looking for an office junior. There's going to be a little bit of IT, but it's going to be mainly photocopying and making cups of tea for the partners. Are you interested? So I popped along. Had an interview, but it was an interesting day because as I walked into the office, the door handle fell off in my hand. I didn't really know what to do with it, and I launched it from one end of the table to the other, but luckily they didn't hold it against me. I had a wonderful boss who really encouraged me to learn as much as I possibly could. He said, in your 20s, you've got all this time. He said, time is such a precious commodity. So he encouraged me to do my MCP, my CCNA. After 2 or 3 years, I was in charge of a little network between Harrogate and Munich and London and Oxford. And then I joined my current firm where I started out, where I continued my career on the service desk. So over the last 20 years in my current role, I've done all sorts of bits and pieces, but the first half of my career was on a service desk where I got exposed to the horrors of poorly designed ticketing systems, and that were forced upon me, and I had really very little say in the matter. And I'd always been a sort of like a hobbyist programmer, very much as a little sideline, but not to any great heights, shall we say. I think the comparison I would use is when you hear about rock stars and they say, well, how did you get started? And they say, well, I just sat in my bedroom and taught myself. And I think that professional developers, I see them almost as those sorts of rock stars, that they just seem to almost magically have this gift of soaking up all sorts of frameworks and new design ideas. And that's not me. That's not me. So I'm definitely more of an ideas man than a professional coder. So fast forward to February this year, it was really the stars had aligned that I was having lots of conversations with suppliers about ITSM tools for my own company, which is my own full-time job. And that also coincided with me discovering vibe coding, and particularly the deep integration of it within a development environment. So prior to that, I had been going to, say, ChatGPT, getting a code snippet, doing a little bit of building, and then sticking it all together. So the stars aligned, and I sat at my kitchen table, and I thought, okay, I'm going to try and solve one problem, and that's connecting to an Exchange mailbox. I'm just going to see if I can do it. And then it worked. It worked almost first time. I mean, I was familiar with the background. My job means that I understand things like the Azure tenant and client secrets and all that sort of stuff, and OpenAuth. So, but it worked. So I jumped up. My wife asked me what all the excitement was about, and I said I've connected to a mailbox. And she couldn't quite understand my enthusiasm, but that was the genesis moment. That was really the moment I thought, you know what? Now I'm on the home straight, and I'm going to make a ticketing system, just that one module, and that was really how things got started.
But right now the system is much more than just ITSM, right? Like I just checked out your GitHub, so looks like it's spending a lot of time in the kitchen programming. This is one. And second, looks like it's much more than what it just started with. Like I just saw that you connected AI with OpenRouter.
Absolutely. So it has grown very, very rapidly from those early days in February. So I have a quite a young family, and so my social life isn't what it used to be. So I have more and more time to spend at home and at the kitchen table. So it's now grown to 20 modules. A lot of the time, the ideas that there's no plan really. I am often just maybe sat on the train to work, and I think, you know what? When I get home this evening, I'm going to add a CMDB module, or I'll go out to the corner shop to pick up a pint of milk, and I think, you know what? I'm going to add a knowledge bank when I get home. And I think what's wonderful about being like a solo developer is that I'm not beholden to anybody. There's no budget constraints. There's no product team that I have to negotiate with. There's no compliance officer that tells me I can't do it. There's no manager telling me that I need to manage my time better. I can do exactly what I want when I want.
So it's mostly like IT, like a very professional IT person with a very extensive background and knowledge that just decided that he wants to build a lot of systems that he saw throughout these that are built in the wrong way or in the wrong pattern or in the wrong structure, just to take his time and to build it on his own. Do you know more or less like what's the usage right now of the product? Like how many people use it? Do you use it internally? Like how do you receive feedback or bugs and things like that?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So my employer, I work for a city law firm, and I said to my boss, I said, don't panic, but I'm working on this little side project. Don't worry. But I said, just for the avoidance of doubt, I do not want the firm to use it. So I head up an infrastructure and applications team. I've got my hands full with, at any given moment, there's going to be 10 spinning plates. And so to be the product manager for something that's supporting 250 people, the service desk guy is saying, this doesn't work or this needs to be fixed. It would not be possible to balance that with my job. And so what I opted to do instead was put it straight onto GitHub, build a website to tell the world about it, and to really just sort of see how it would grow organically. So I have this sort of inner dichotomy, you might say, in the sense that I think I'm quite creative. Like many people, I could always imagine myself being a bit richer, but I don't have a commercial bone in my body. I truly don't. And so I thought, well, what can I do that's going to stop me worrying about, I don't know, someone stealing it? Or what could I do to make myself think, oh, it's not making me enough money? I know what, I'll make it absolutely free forever. So, and if anyone wants to steal it, that's fine. In fact, I want them to copy it. So I did a Google for the most permissive license I could possibly find, which was an MIT license, spoke to some lawyers at work, and I said, is there anything even more permissive than this? And they're like, no, that'll be absolutely fine. In terms of numbers, I saw a crazy amount of cloning activity in the early days. Sometimes I'd see like 1,000 clones in a day, which was quite exciting. But then one of my more pragmatic friends who I have breakfast with every Saturday morning, we normally have Eggs Benedict at a wonderful little local restaurant, said, oh, well, Ed, it's probably just AI bots scraping it. It's probably not real people. But I think, looking at the stats, I think I have a core following of maybe 40 or 50 who are checking it out very regularly. Sometimes I'll see a real spike in downloads. And if I do, I'm terrible at advertising, absolutely dreadful. So occasionally I post things on Reddit or LinkedIn, and that sometimes drives a little bit more activity.
So you know that some of the most successful tech companies in the world, like Elasticsearch and MongoDB, etc., they started just like you described, with like open source and free. Do you have any plans in like building like a hosted version or a cloud version in the future that people will be able to register and just use it with your SaaS offering and maybe pay you some money for it?
So in essence, that's not the model or vision that I have at the moment. And the main reason is that I think as soon as I start taking money from people, I will then have obligations. I will have obligations on data security. People will say, I'll be thinking about ISO 27001, ISO 9001. I'll probably be having people demanding that I get ISO 42001, which is the AI certification. Then I'll have bug reports. I'll probably have to find lawyers as well, just to help me through draw up contracts. On a personal note, I can't really currently envisage myself pivoting to a hosted commercial venture. But what I could imagine is someone picking it up and really running with it. So for one thing that was quite exciting was I discovered that there was a guy in, I think he works in the IT department of an Indonesian hotel chain. So it was quite fun just knowing that there's just someone on the other side of the planet putting my software through its paces. And so that's really my main motivator at the moment. I do have other motivations, I think which I alluded to the last time we spoke, that I don't want to get ideas above my station. But I think I can play a very, very small part in encouraging other platforms to raise their game and raise their game without charging customers more. So if I can play a very small part in that process, if I can drive a debate and conversation around the value of things, the impact of data centers, the uncertainty of where AI might be in 5 to 10 years, then I will look back and go, I'm really proud that I was able to be part of that conversation with people such as yourself.
Same here. And I think that, I think our conversation was mostly around how commoditized IT and security tools are becoming. It's slower than other tools, right? Because they're more complicated and they have mostly more structure of like client server and things like that are more complicated because you have a lot of security concerns, as you said before. I think that people like you are kind of the proof that this is happening, right? You're going out there, you're building it purely from altruism. You just want to give it to the world. You don't have plans, don't have any commercial plans on taking it to be a for-profit company. And I think we're going to see a lot of it. I think we already started to see more of it. I don't know if you saw, there is another tool called Breeze RMM. That is also AI, no commercial offering, purely free tool. And I think this is kind of the next, like Vue and other tools are kind of the next gen of open source IT security tools. And I think we're going to see more of it. I think there is a lot of areas of open source to grow. For example, zero trust, for example, identity and access management. There is a lot of room in the area. This is some stuff that we want to do with Flamingo and OpenFrame, but also like other initiatives of people that are building like a vertical AI and IT. Maybe leave aside FreeITSM as an IT admin and someone that has been to IT and maybe like grew, like became manager along the years. How do you see IT moving forward?
Yeah, so I think you with Flamingo, I think you've really caught the zeitgeist. I think there is massive appetite for automation on steroids, you might call it. To have agents that don't have any time off, they don't get sick, they don't have bad days, they're never late for work, they don't forget things. When you train them, they absorb it all because they are machines. I think there will always be space for humans. So my background is legal, and so we have chief exec, we have senior partners, and when things are going wrong, they don't want to talk to a chatbot. They want to go and talk to a human being. Now, if that human being can be ably assisted by powerful agentic tools, then absolutely. I think across the world, every company is being told to do more with less. So budgets are barely keeping up with inflation, and in some cases are being cut. And so IT managers are having to juggle things around and make very, very tough choices. What am I going to prioritize? Am I going to prioritize security, cybersecurity? Am I going to prioritize customer service? So, for example, you might have some companies where you have a real culture of like a white glove service, where if someone needs, I don't know, something as simple as a password reset, yeah, absolutely, agentic AI can nail that for them. And I think there will be hundreds of thousands of service desk analysts who will be jumping about with joy, knowing that there's tools that can mop up say 50% of their tickets, which will free them up to tackle the really nitty gritty stuff. I mean, IT, there are so many elements to it. So you have your service desk, but you've then got training. So I think that AI can massively assist with helping train a user base. So I can imagine a world where you would, for example, say, let's say you've signed up to Microsoft and you want to train your users in how to use Microsoft Word. Silly example, but and just to be able to say to the AI, right, I want you to churn out some training slides. I want some animations. I want a multiple choice test. I want a scoring system where people who score very highly get celebrated. People who are really struggling with these new concepts we can support them further. And then on the infrastructure side, there's massive scope for agentic tools to assist with troubleshooting. Now, I mean, I'm not quite brave enough to let agentic tools completely loose on my estate. That's not to say that it's a bad idea. I think when someone first drove a car faster than a galloping horse, there were concerns that they might pass out, but that turned out not to be true. I think when people first started doing online shopping, there was a real sense of fear and uncertainty, and I don't really see any great difference with that. We've got this pivotal moment, and there's going to be cheerleaders, there's going to be pioneers, there's going to be people who really want to lead the charge. There will be the refuseniks, that's just life, but then there will also be the people probably slightly more like me who are open-minded but hesitant.
Yeah, agreed. I think also the movement, and we see it also in other industries, like the fact that a lot of people are kind of commoditizing the infra layer, like they're not even only in IT, for example, in accounting, if you can, we're in the US here, so like if you have something like QuickBooks and you can find open source alternative to QuickBooks, you zero out the expenses you have on software that is the accounting software, and then on top of it, you build AI layer that making everything super efficient, which goes back to what you said at the beginning. Budgets are getting squeezed, inflation is high. People are like business owners just want to utilize the money in a way that's just going to create more revenue for them and not going to just keep up with whatever they had before, even if it's accounting or IT or whatever. Completely agreed on that. What's your future plan for FreeITSM? Which new models are you gonna build?
So now I have been thinking about this all day, knowing that I was going to be speaking with you on this. So the top of my list is adding an MCP layer to it, so that someone can talk to it from Teams or Claude or whatever it might be. And I'm fairly early on in my MCP journey, but I'm in my regular day-to-day job. All the vendors that I'm talking to are raving about it. MCP is absolutely the way to go. The other things that I would like to do is to see if I can find a way of getting a demo site up and running. I think that's one of the blockers to adoption, that although I've done my best to share screenshots, I'm trying to tell a story, but I think there's more that I can do there. I want to make more and more of the modules have to give the user the ability to interact with it in as natural way as possible. So, for example, on the module that allows you to map out your business processes, there are some limited things that you can do. So you could say, well, actually, if that condition isn't met, then do this instead, and it will jig things around for you. I think my main area of focus would be changing how people interact with it through MCP and more local methods.
Yes, I think it's fascinating that one of the first things that you mentioned is MCP, because I think that once you add AI layer into any type of product, like it's always 1 + 1 = 3. It's not 2 anymore, because let's say that you have like you have email integration. That's one of the first things that you build. And let's say that you want to run email security campaigns against your employees, right? If you would have to, have a dedicated product for it, right? Email awareness product. But now when you have simple email integration and you have AI connected to it, you can run whatever campaigns you want, right? And then measure the results. So I think any sort of system that you combine with AI becomes much more intelligent and have, like we mapped up with OpenMSP, we mapped up 19 categories of products that IT and security teams are commonly used. I think that if 10 of them and you combine them with AI, the other 9 are not necessary anymore. Just because with AI, you can do so much more. So I think it's going to be super interesting because for you to add AI, because as much as you're going to have the AI and add more modules that are essential for IT teams, the impact is going to be much more significant than just an MCP integration, right? So I think that's super cool. And I look forward in seeing that. I think that we're kind of reaching the end of this podcast. Any other stuff you would like to add?
Yes. So your last comment, it reminds me of two other things on my roadmap. So number one is to make the FreeITSM multi-tenant. I'm kind of regretting not getting that in from the get-go. So it's going to be a long evening at the kitchen table, making it multi-tenant. And also I've been having a big think about interoperability. So adding an API to it, I think will be not just something fun to do. I think I see it almost as a moral imperative that as part of if you have something that is open source, but still with a closed source mindset, as in no API, then that's not where I want to be. So that I think that would also be very much on my roadmap.
Very cool. And in terms of vision or other things you would like to share with the community, anything else you would like to add before we conclude?
So I would say to anyone out there who is thinking of building anything, I would say go for it. If you have anyone, and that person could be yourself, but it might be your friends or your colleagues, if they're saying to you, just don't bother. If they say to you that it's probably already been done or that they don't understand it, then ignore the naysayers. Learn to embrace failure. Failure is just it's a temporary thing on your road to success. I would also say, don't worry about any keyboard warriors that you come across on Reddit, for example. It's a big world. People are going to have different opinions. And there's a button in Reddit called block. It's very useful. But most of it is go in wholeheartedly. Make sure you do your research. Have a fairly solid understanding of security. Don't end up with your API keys in GitHub, for example. There's no need. And but most of all, enjoy it. We can all play our part in making the world a better place, and vibe coding is absolutely big part of that.
With these inspiring words, I would conclude this discussion. Thank you so much, Ed. It was a pleasure talking to you, and keep up the good work we do with FreeITSM. And we'll talk again. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. It's been a pleasure.